Okay, you guys, so this is our Anatomage table here at ISU Meridian's virtual laboratory. Really nice. We have a touch screen so you can rotate the model in any direction that you want. We can customize and dissect as we want. Let me show you first dissection. We can do it in any plane. We could do a transverse section. We could do a sagittal section. We can even turn this guy and get a frontal section as well. And we can, with this toggle switch, take a trip through the body. But the fun thing is if we turn it up, now we can really appreciate some of the deeper structures as we take a trip through. And we'll do a really quick tracking all the way through and kind of see the power. But maybe I want to show off something, for example, I want to really highlight some of the structures of the vertebral column. With 3 fingers, I can scroll through a little bit more gently and kind of really look for the fine detail that I want. Here we can see the spinal cord, we can see the vertebral column. That's kind of cool. The other things that are really powerful here, let's just get a straight lateral view here. I can annotate directly onto the screen and we can highlight structures like the liver here, or we can see and appreciate the diaphragm. That's kind of fun. You can see some of the gut tube structures dotted along. We can appreciate things like the sacrum right here, or L5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and then there's T12. You can see the spinal cords ending right about at the T1 level. Let's clear those things out of there. That's pretty fun to do. We also have some presets. For example, I was just talking with some high school students and we really wanted to understand the different regions of the skeleton. And so we set up some presets where we can see, like, here is the whole skeleton in its entirety. And the fun thing is you get kind of a context. You can really appreciate the topographical features because you have that sense of 3 dimensions as you rotate around. And again, we do have normal presets if we want to have just a supine patient, take the lateral view, or even a head down view is really useful. And the fun thing about that is you can toggle between the directions. So, you know, for example, if you're feeling a little left out over there, there's no reason to, because I want you to know, hey, we've got you, right?
This guy has nice teeth. He does.
So then the next question would be, like, what is the difference between the appendicular skeleton and the axial skeleton? We could go over and show you this is the appendicular skeleton, which would include the pectoral and pelvic girdles, as well as the appendages, the upper and lower extremities. If we went a little bit further, we could develop that idea and just kind of look at some of the axial skeleton. You see this is not the axial skeleton in its entirety. I've left off a lot of the thoracic region, but we can fix that. So we can come in and choose skeleton, and we can turn it all on or off, or really just kind of select different things we want. In this case, we want to see the thorax, so we can turn the thorax on, and that'll give us all of those other structures like the ribs, the sternum, and other things that are indeed a part of the axial skeleton. Some people maybe wonder, occasionally we get an extra rib, a thoracic rib or a lumbar rib, and that does happen, and that is because every vertebra has the potential to grow a rib. For example, it comes from 5 primary ossification centers. We have a centrum, we have a costal element at each level, and then we have a neural arch at each level as well. And then the final product ends up being the vertebral body, the spinous process, and transverse processes. And between the body and the transverse processes, we have the pedicles. And then between the spinous process and the transverse process, we have the lamina. And that creates our vertebra. In the thoracic region, this costal element actually grows out, and we have the head of the rib in contact with the body, and then that swoops around to make some contact with the transverse process and then comes all the way around. But everywhere else, we just end up without that. So that transverse process isn't a true transverse process all the way down. At least that's not all it is, right? There's that rib element. I mean, think of other vertebrates like a fish that have ribs at every single level, cervical all the way down to lumbar regions. We're all vertebrates, and that is in our phylogeny. So we have that potential, and some people do grow it out, and we get things like thoracic outlet syndrome when vasculature that's exiting out of the thoracic region is pinched by, say, an extra rib that's coming around, right? Typically doesn't onset until later in life because these things typically don't ossify or become calcified until later on in life. In 30s, 40s is when those typically become manifest.